Hey everyone, welcome to episode 18 of my podcast, Is Breakfast Included? Now today on the podcast, I sit down with the very talented singer, songwriter, and performer Jamie Lin Wilson. Now I caught up with Jamie at the legendary Kessler Theater here in Dallas, Texas, and she shared a few stories about getting started in the music business, her affinity for Tom Petty, and how she handled the last year. I won't do it any justice in this intro, so I'm going to let her tell you all about it. Let's check it out.
Yeah, I don't. Good. I'm into that.
Cool. Well, tell me who you are, where you're from.
I am Jamie Lin Wilson, and I'm from Texas. I grew up outside of Houston, and now I live outside of San Antonio. Small towns all around.
All right. Yeah. When did you start playing?
College. I didn't get a guitar until I was 19, sophomore in college.
Is there like a musical background in your family that made you want to play, or did?
I mean, we didn't have any professional musicians, but my grandma played piano and organ on my dad's side. And I found out later that my grandma on my mom's side played accordion and harmonica, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But no, there wasn't really anybody, I didn't really know that this life existed whenever I was little. I thought that you were either Reba McEntire or you just worked at the bank. There was no we had little polka bands around where I grew up. So there was that, but I never thought to do it.
What made you want to do it?
I don't even really know. Singing was always something that I just did naturally. I knew that I could sing whenever I was little. And so music itself was a really huge part of, that's why I love all of those old songs, because there's, I could get lost in that, Go mow the yard. Okay, well, I'm mowing the yard, and then I'm, singing Lori Morgan songs while I'm mowing the yard, like that. And I never thought anybody could hear me, and then later I found out they could all hear me the whole time. I thought I was in my own world, but it was always something that I loved so much, just kind of I don't want to say unreachable thing, because I wasn't reaching for it. It was just kind of an untouchable, those things. Those are those people, they wear ball gowns and, I did always kind of have a dream of singing with Merle Haggard. Whenever I was little, that was if I could do anything, I want to sing with Merle Haggard, but,
right on.
But, eventually, I went through high school and stuff. We didn't have a choir. We didn't do any of that. But when I got to college, I went to Texas A&M and I started seeing little bands at the bars and going, I remember watching Susan Gibson. I stumbled into this little bar I think it was called the Cow Hop on Northgate. And Susan Gibson, who I didn't know at the time, was in there with a 3-piece, an upright bass player who I met later, and Eleanor on the fiddle. And I was like, well, that's cool. I could maybe do something like that.
Yeah.
And then my cousin and I went to go see the Dixie Chicks in Houston. And it was this huge show. It was the Fly Tour. Joe Ely opened. And that was the first time that I saw Joe Ely. And so all of these things kind of started going, hold on, there's a other thing. And I knew about Todd Snyder, and I knew about Jack Ingram, and I knew about Charlie Robinson and these guys that were going around the college towns. But again, it was something that I didn't think I could do. And then Natalie Maines stood out and came out by herself and sang Cold Day in July on the guitar just by herself. And I went, I could probably do that. I could probably get a guitar and learn how to sing by myself, with no ambition of doing it in public, but to just accompany myself, so that I didn't have to sing along to the radio anymore. And so I said that to my cousin, and then 2 weeks later, she and my mom got me a guitar for Christmas.
Oh, so you weren't even playing guitar when all
No,
this was going
not
on
at
in your
all.
head?
Yeah, they just all of a sudden I had a guitar, and then I learned how to play it kind of easily. Like I just got a book of chords and then printed off songs that I knew that had those chords in it. And I remember the first chord change whenever I went, that's a song.
Yeah.
Like that sounds like the very first thing where I go, wow, I just made music by myself. And then from
Sometimes you wish you could go back to the way you felt when you did that first chord change.
sometimes I still feel it.
You do?
It's the same feeling that happens whenever you come up with a really great line that it just came out of nowhere. And you go, oh, that's the song.
Yeah.
Like, whenever you finally figure out what the hook is, or you finally figure out how the melody goes or whatever, like it's that same, like, and that's why we keep chasing it.
Right. When did you start writing your own songs?
Pretty shortly thereafter. So I kind of learned how to play in secret because I am I've gotten a little better at it now, but I've always been the kind of person who doesn't want to show anybody that I'm not good at something.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't want to tell anybody I was learning how to play guitar until I could show them that I knew how to do it,
For that fear of like, play something.
Just for like, oh, you can play guitar. Cool. I'm like, I can't really know, that. Yeah. Like, show us what you know. No.
Yeah.
And also, I just like being sufficient at something before I do it in public, Being on stage has cured a lot of that. Like now I can kind of improv a little bit better with like, I don't know this song, let's sing it anyway. That kind of thing I can do now. Yeah. Like throw the chords at me, just tell me what they are and I'll follow along, But then, so I started playing guitar, and then I kind of stumbled upon a group of songwriters there in College Station, and kind of just started making up songs, like pretty much right away. And they weren't that great. Obviously, nobody's, unless you're John Prine, like the first song's not great, unless you're Guy Clark, But I started, and then within a few months, I was in a band. Like it just kind of, oh, this girl can sing. Oh, and they were like kind of helping me, like going, fly, little birdie.
You kind of learned,
and I learned
as
on
you started
stage.
Performing.
Yeah,
That's cool.
There was a lot of like band practices where we would go hang out and learn new songs, and I'd go, I don't know how to do that, but I didn't want to tell them that I didn't know how to do that. So I would just kind of study what they were doing and then go home and practice it. And then by the next practice, I knew how to do it.
So you're a true country musician. You never went through like, I want to be a pop singer, and that didn't work out. So you've been doing country.
Yeah, I mean, country is just kind of what comes out of me.
Okay.
I guess. I mean, I love like, I don't know, I guess the rock music that I do love always has a tinge of storytelling in it.
Yeah.
Too, which is the country thing is really the storytelling part of it. Exactly. So like my favorite rock musicians, Tom Petty, and like they've all got Springsteen, like they've all got country in them. It's not too far of a leap.
No.
To go there.
Your first band was called
The Gougers.
Mm-hmm. And how long were you in that band?
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah. Yep. And right as that group was ending, and that was a very, like, I was a lead singer with my friend Shane. So it was male, female led. Like we knew every Graham and Emmylou song. We traded leads, and there was a lot of harmony, and it was really fun. We traveled a lot everywhere. So whenever I started going on my first tours, that's whenever I learned how to sleep in a van, like, oh, we can sleep in this Holiday Inn parking lot so that we can have a bathroom in the morning.
Right.
That kind of touring.
The important things.
Yeah. they won't mind us here. You know, they have coffee in the mornings. Just walk in like we know what we're doing. And then after that ended was like kind of right at the beginning of my next band, which was the Trishas. So that
was my introduction to you. That's when I saw you the first time.
Yeah, cool.
The Trishas.
Yeah, so that was all girls, and it was, again, we would trade off leads. We all wrote songs. It was big harmony, and people used to ask us like how to divide, you know, what kind of music do y'all play? And we're like, well, it's really hard to say. You know, it's not exactly country, and it's not exactly folk music, and it's not exact. But I read in an article in an interview one time with Rhett Miller, and they were talking about the old 97s, and he said, style is defined by your limitations.
Yeah.
And I went, yeah, that's us.
Yeah.
We all do exactly what we can do with all of our hands and all of our feet, and then that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. I was on tour one time, and I'm normally really good about telling you where I was and what, but I was with this band, and we went to our shower room after the show, and you guys were in the same hotel, and I saw you guys walking, and I go, hey, like a weirdo, you guys, and I said, I used to work for Jack Ingram, and then you guys walk by like, okay,
sorry about that.
But so yeah, it was really cool. I was a big fan.
Well,
I think the first time I saw you guys was at Brewster Street, I think. Or
in Corpus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Open for Jack.
Oh, okay.
For Jack.
Yeah, that room is hard for a all acoustic, lots of vocals mix.
Yeah. Influences. Who did not try and emulate, but who were your influences?
Yeah. Well, you know, at first, whenever I was learning how to sing, like, and sing my own songs, and it was, you know, I listen back now and go, oh, that's where I got it. Like, it was obvious that Emmylou Harris and Nancy Griffith, Kathy Mattea, Susie Boggess, Patty Loveless, Patty Griffin, like all of those just really great deliverers, you know, and I listen back and go, and listen to old country songs. Oh man, Highway 101, you know, Paulette Carlson, like, she's such a great singer. And I would sing those songs and try to sound exactly like her. You know, did you tell her she was sleeping in a bed you made for me? Like, those kind of, they're so good. And I can see, oh, I got that move from Dolly Parton, and I stole that move from, you know, whoever. And so, yeah, and singing influences, it's just kind of a huge, it took me a while to figure out what I sounded like. And I think that happens to everybody that learns how to sing. You just, at first you're trying to sound like your favorite people.
Yeah. And
then a little while later you go, oh, this is my voice.
Yeah.
I hear it now. And still taking, you know, from, like I mentioned Tom Petty earlier, I remember whenever I realized that what I loved so much about his songs and what drew me to him is there's two things. And one of them is his use of an acoustic guitar. Running down a dream. Like, that's an acoustic guitar.
Everyone knows that part.
Right.
It's just as much as they know the rest of
exactly.
the song.
Yeah. And like, he used, you know, that whole Wildflowers record, like, and Highway Companion is my favorite probably record of all time.
Really?
Like, I love it so much. Like, anytime that I just need to recenter, you know, I'm like, today's a Highway Companion day, you know, square one, my slate is clear. Like, it's all just, but his use of an acoustic guitar made me feel more important as a rhythm player. You know, it made me really go, okay, this is important. And I can lead a song all on my own. And even if I'm just standing there with just an acoustic guitar, the other thing about his songs and his production is the dynamics of his recordings and it gets real loud and then it drops down to nothing, like Room at the Top.
Yeah.
It's like, ah, and then it's like,
the few people who know me really well that are going to listen to this will say like, oh, you got her to say all that. Because they know how much of a fanatic I am about Tom Petty.
Okay, well, I mean, is that accurate? What I'm
Exactly.
like, those are the
every
things
bit
that
of
like
it's accurate. I didn't want to interrupt
have
you
gotten
because,
from him.
Yeah.
Whenever I really started to pay attention, is like it's that just that the dynamics of his. It's powerful.
Yeah.
Like, and it makes you really like zone in and listen to what he's saying. And so I've tried to incorporate that over the years into my songwriting. Oh, this is where it can get big, and then this is where we bring them back down. I also use that in live shows whenever the crowd's getting rowdy. I know which songs I can play that
your go-tos.
My go-tos, and it always is that like something that gets everybody going and then drops down, and then they go and the whole crowd will get lower.
Yeah.
To go, whoa, something just happened, and they turn around and look, and then I can get them back in.
Yeah.
And that's
it's funny you say that about the acoustic guitar because the acoustic guitar, my enunciation, just like Heartache, you do that. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I listen to that song, I listen to of course I listen to the melody and the song itself,
well, that
but you hear the acoustic, it's the song.
Prominent, yeah.
Yeah, that's
and
the
that
song.
That's like 4 acoustic guitars of, again, a little Tom Petty nod, like that wall of
the layers.
Yes, the layers of we're gonna capo this one on the, and then we're gonna throw a 12 string in the back, and then we're like to really drive that acoustic sound. And we did that with that whole record. It was kind of it was really intentional. To like, okay, this record of these Holidays and Wedding Rings, it's my first full-length solo record after the Trishas and the Gougers. Like, it was terrifying, to do it.
But you kind of wanted to make a statement.
But I wanted to, like, be able to still be relatable enough to the people that were big fans of the Trishas. Mm-hmm. And then also have my own, like, but this is what I actually sound like. Yeah. But all of the lead instruments on that record are acoustic instruments. And I mean, there are electric instruments on it, but like all the leads are taken by an acoustic guitar or like the most prominent.
So it was all intentional.
It was all intentional because the Trishas were such an acoustic
group. It's funny when you say your influences, were Kathy Mattea. When I heard that album, and I could be completely wrong here. I could be completely wrong. I grew up. I grew up in the 80s. Mm-hmm. So you had like, that style of country, and that's. I don't want to sound real cheesy, but when I listen to that album, that's where it takes me. Yeah, it takes me to when I was that age and listening to like Ronnie Millsap. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that it wasn't quite what pop country is. It was like storytelling. Right. Well, that's that whole, what do they call it? The great, the great integrity scare of the 80s or whatever, whenever it was like Lyle Lovett and Rodney Crowell and Kathy Mattea and Nancy Griffith and all these like songwriters that could sing. Yeah. And then they were like, oh no. Our power's being taken away. These are supposed to be separate things. Songwriters and singers are separate. Yeah. But during that time, which was my formative years, in the late 80s and the early 90s, whenever I was going, whoa, that's music. It was those people. Yeah. Rodney Crowell, like Stars on the Water, all of those things, those late 80s, and Roseanne Cash, 7 Year Ache, like that time period probably infiltrated my brain. Yeah, more it did. Than, I mean, I can hear it, but it's not so over. Like, it's not so like I'm gonna try and be that. But you hear it,
right? That's what comes out. Yeah, like.
Well, that's a compliment. I don't mean that like.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Well, I take it that way for sure. But it's any time that I have sat down and tried to write in different styles. And they all end up going back to this kind of comfortable spot. Yeah. that lets me get the words out easier. And every once in a while, I'll go back and go, okay, now I got the words out. Let's kind of play with it a little and, play with the melody or whatever. But, that really helps me to just go, this is how I know to get words.
Right on. And Jumping Over Rocks.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that album.
Okay.
Yeah, that was your last full release.
Yeah.
What was it like recording that album?
Okay, so
you recorded a really short time.
I did. Yeah, it took 4 days and we did it all live. And that record, it was interesting the way that it all came to be anyway, because we have a really busy personal life. Like at the time that I was, whenever I made Holidays and Wedding Rings, I was pregnant with my third kid. And so whenever and then we toured it, and then we have 3 small children, and so every record that I make it to where I go, if this is the last thing I ever make, I'm good. Mm-hmm. Like we left it all out there. I didn't, I love all of these songs. So I didn't have another record in mind. And I don't right now either, for that matter. Like after Jumping Over Rocks, I'm like, cool. I don't know. I would love to, but I remember sitting down and writing. There's a song on there. It's the last track, actually. It's called If I Told You. Mm-hmm. And I sat down and I wrote that. And it was inspired by a song a friend sent me. I went, that song sounds like it's not complete. It needs a part 2. And I wrote the part 2. And then I went, well, shit, now I have to make another record. Like, this is a really good song, Now I have to make another record. And that kind of got me into gear of finding the songs for Jumping Over Rocks. And every song that I finished, it had to be either better or as good as that first one. Like that was my standard.
Yeah.
And if I didn't like it as much as that one, then I either fixed it or I threw it out.
Didn't make it.
It just didn't make it. So when I went to record it, I had in my mind, like, I want to, and I had this in mind for Holidays and Wedding Rings too, but I didn't end up being able to do it because I had a sinus infection or something. Like I couldn't sing the vocals when we cut all the stuff, but I was like, I'm going to do it live, all live. I'm going to sing it. That's going to be the vocal take. Like anything y'all play, that's going to be your take. Like we're going to rehearse it until we're ready to record, and then we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's how it happened. The only thing that's not live is harmonies on that record. So the way that we were able to record all, 10 or 11 songs in 4 days was because we went, that's exactly the song. And I love how everybody was in the same room except for me, and I could see everybody. So as we were, kind of nodding over, like just like a live show where you go, all right, Charlie, it's your turn. Yeah. Like you give
a signal,
nod over to the guitar player. Hey, you take the first round. And at first we're talking to each other through the cans and leading each other through the song, and then stopping and starting again. But then as it just kind of goes, we think we're ready. Like the songs kind of breathe in that way. Whenever you're not going, let's just put this guitar track down and then we'll take out whatever we don't need. Yeah. There was no extra.
So whatever they played,
that's what it was. Cool. And like then the steel would do the fills, and then the, organ would do whatever. Like, and it just kind of flows so nicely. And I don't ever want to record any other way ever again. Well, it's so pleasant.
The album sounds, to overuse an overused word, organic. So it does come across.
Well, thank you.
After Holidays and Wedding Rings, I thought, well, you can't do any better than this. This is a great album. Yeah, and you did.
Well, thank you.
You just really...
I have always had a dream.
That you care what Bernie thinks.
Well, I do, of course. And I've always had a dream of making a record that way. Yeah. Of just going, this is how I feel that music should be made. Yeah. Like, it's always been kind of weird to me to go, now we're going to lay down the bass track or whatever. I'm like, no, the bass track should be laid down with the drum track and with the guitar track and like we all play it on stage together.
Just come back in a couple of days when we're ready for you.
We'll send you this.
Yeah.
And
you can do it in your bedroom.
Yeah. I mean, as convenient as that is for certain types of music.
Yeah.
That's not my style of music. Like if I was like a pop singer or something that would like to be very, very polished.
Yeah.
But I don't appreciate that. Like I love listening to Emmylou records where like she's a little flat.
Yeah.
You know, like where I go, oh, she's
and hand on the string,
and you hear a hand on a string, and you hear a groan or a breath, or you hear like I didn't quite reach that note, but I'm gonna move my way down now. You know, like you can tell whenever there's a certain energy and attention in that has always to me been very attractive.
Yeah,
like I like that, so I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
There's some notes. There's some notes on Jumping Over Rocks that I didn't quite get. And I would sit there and go, are we going to leave that? And they're like, the rest of the song's really good. I'm like, cool, we're leaving it.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of imperfection.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't remember who said it, but someone said that the magic is in the mistakes.
Right.
Like you, even on the Led Zeppelin albums. Jimmy Page is so sloppy, but you're like, it's Jimmy Page.
Right. I know. Like going back to Tom Petty again, but there's some recording that I've never heard again, but I had it and I can't find it, but it's of Walls. You got a heart so, and whoever's singing the harmony in the right speaker is the worst harmony singer ever, and whoever does the harmonica solo hits
and there's
the
two
wrong...
or three versions. I think that's the circus version.
Is
that's
it?
called like
okay.
Wall's circus version.
Well, it sounds like a circus. So that's appropriate.
You hear Ben Mall like pum 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 pum.
Yeah.
It's
and then like there's the worst harmonica solo ever, but the great part is that they hit the wrong note, and this is now my own philosophy for harmonica playing. If you hit the wrong note, just hang.
Yeah.
Just leave it until it's right, because the chords will come back again.
Yeah.
To where that becomes the right note, and the release of that tension is like
brings it home.
Is my favorite part. You're like, this sounds wrong, and then it lands, and you're like, yes, that was so great.
Also, on that album, you did a cover song on that album.
I did. I've always wanted to cut that song, and I just never.
And you did it as a duet.
Yeah, that was a spur of the moment decision, even because we had it on the list of songs to record, and I was getting sounds on the first day, and I was playing it. I was playing Instant Coffee Blues with, trying to get guitar sounds, and that's just the song I picked to play. And Ingram stopped by just 'cause we're at Arlen, and that's where he likes to go, and he just stopped by to see how the session's going, that. And so he came in and he was like, "Are you recording that song?" I said, "Yeah. You want to sing on it?" And he goes, "Sure." And then we're like, "Okay, well, I don't think we're doing it today, but we'll probably do it tomorrow," like on the list of where it was the next day or the day after. And he was like, "All right, I'll be here." So he showed up, and then he was like, "So you want me to take like the second verse?" And I was like, "Oh, is this a duet?" Yeah. Like I've always had a dream of making it a duet, because in my brain it is.
Yeah.
It's the story of these two people, and I've enjoyed singing it from a female perspective for forever, because I think that puts a whole other spin on it.
It does.
And then also, and it's undercovered. Nobody covers it.
Yeah.
Like it's not, if somebody's like, "I'm going to sing a Guy Clark song," it's always something else.
Yeah.
But that's been my favorite for so long. Between that one and She Ain't Going Nowhere, those are the ones that I've always like gone back to cover. And so then he was like, I can come in at the girl's verse. So then I sang the guy talking about the guy, and then he sang the verse talking about the woman. And it just ended up being really cool.
Yeah. It's a great version of that song.
Yeah. Like we were really happy with it. I was like, dang, okay. I'm really excited about that.
You mentioned earlier your kids.
Yes.
You tour with your kids.
I try. I mean, I do.
Up until this last year.
The babies always come on the road.
What's it like raising a family, being a solo artist, touring around the country?
It is a balancing act. I know that you probably know, but whenever you're on the road a lot, you basically have a double life.
Yeah.
Like we've got these friends and then we've got these friends.
Yeah.
And they're, and those, and especially I don't live in Austin or in a city where any of my friends live. Yeah. So it really is like they're two separate things. And so whenever I have the babies and they come on the road, it brings those two things. It's grounding.
Yeah.
And it makes me go, okay, this is how it goes. Like for the first year and a half, the babies are at every show. I have to figure it out. There's like a lot of logistics. And honestly, I don't even know how it works.
Yeah. It's hard enough being on the road.
Right.
And worrying about yourself and your schedule every day. So
right. It's just, and every baby was different too. So, and every situation with every baby was different. Like with Maggie and Joni, the two girls, I was in the Trishas. And so we were touring, as the Trishas, and they basically had 5 aunts on the road with us, so it was a very community, it was a commune basically in a rolling house. Like we were in a van. Anybody would, if I went, okay, I have to go to the bathroom. Can somebody hold this baby?
Yeah.
Like they would take care of, it was, hey, somebody go get Joni so Jamie can get dressed. Like it was all hands on deck all the time. And then when TR was born, it was right after Holidays and Wedding Rings. And I was on the road completely solo, not even with a tour manager or a merch person or anything.
So you were doing it all.
I just had the baby. And I would take my mom with me sometimes, or like I think my sister came out. My sister flew out to Colorado to meet me one time. But it was actually, he was such a good baby that, and Maggie was this way too, that they had a schedule. They did that to themselves. I'm not a scheduler, but but he was asleep every night by 7:30, and he loved his car seat, and I could just put him in his car seat at 7:30 and give him his passy, and he'd go to sleep anywhere. So I would just advance a babysitter. Like knuckleheads in Kansas City, I'd go, hey, Frank, do you have like a bar back that's not going to be working that night that could maybe like keep an eye on the baby while he sleeps? Sure. And then I'd get there and they're like, that's my niece. She's going to be watching your baby.
We're going to
tonight.
need a local merch guy
and a babysitter. I mean, really, that's how I did it. Like I'd advance a merch person and I'd advance a babysitter. And there are people all over the country right now that'll be like, hey, I saw you one time in Omaha. I held your baby for you.
Like, why you went up there and played the songs.
And in hindsight, I think how ridiculous that sounds. But in the moment, that's the only way it could have happened.
That's what you had to do. Yeah.
And I knew the baby and I knew the people that I was dealing with. You know, like it wasn't like I was showing up at a random bar. Like these are people I've had relationships for 10 years, so they would, or I'd go and somebody has a cousin that lives there, or my husband has, family relatives or family, or we'd here in Dallas, I've got a cousin that lives here. So I would just come and drop the baby off at her house for a few hours and then go spend the night there. So, and, honestly, if I didn't have this job, I probably wouldn't see my family as much as I'd do, but go to College Station, go to Dallas, go to St. Louis and Lubbock and Midland. Like I've got West Texas family. I've got everywhere or friends that I could just ask
I've toured
for
with
help.
a couple of artists who bring their kids. The first time I did it, it was the full band, and him and his wife brought their newborn baby.
Yeah.
and we were in Ireland in one of those weird Sprinter vans, and we passed the time by throwing in money, going, "What time's she gonna poop? Who gets to clean?" That's kind of an inappropriate game to play, but
No,
everybody
but,
was in on it, and it made the day go by.
Honestly, like the babies on the road, like it seems like it makes it way harder, and it does make it more challenging. But honestly, like it makes you wake up in the morning, and go for a walk, and get out of the room, and they're always happy. And like I remember one day specifically in the Trishas, Joni was like 2.5, learning how to talk and walking around the hotel room. And Savannah, one of the other girls, was kind of having a hard day, and she was just she was in the bathroom, like getting ready. And she sat down on the side of the bathtub, and Joni walked in, and she just goes, "Savannah, you look really pretty." And Vanny was like, "Thank you." Like it was just like,
made her day.
And just make sure, they're comic relief.
Yeah.
They are like entertaining.
Yeah.
To try to make the baby stop crying in the back of the van. Like you come up with tricks and everybody's in there like being a goofy clown. Like it wouldn't have been like that had we not had the kids on the road. Yeah. And so those are some of my most treasured road memories, is like whenever we have the babies out. And now they're older. The baby now is almost 3. He's hard still, but like the 2 to 4-year-olds are not fun road companions at all. They still need naps. They argue. They're volatile.
Oh, well, macaroni.
They're potty training. That's not cool. But the older ones are almost 11, 8, and 6. And like I'm able to just go, "Hey, I have a gig at Green Hall. You want to come?" Like you have to keep yourself entertained while I'm playing, but like you can go to the general store, or you can hang out, take a nap. I don't care. Read a book. And they love it. Yeah. They love it. I took them to Tulsa with me New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. I got a bus and went up there and took the whole family, and we spent 2 days in Tulsa. And now they're starting to think that my job's pretty cool.
Right on.
As
someone who toured a lot the last several years, how did last year how did it affect you? I don't want to use mentally, but how did that affect you mentally?
I felt really guilty about this for a long time, but I have finally stopped feeling guilty about the fact that I loved it. Like, I needed it. Mm-hmm. I've been trying to figure out how to take, even whenever you're trying to figure out how to take a month off. Yeah. Then something comes up. I'm taking August off. And then they're like, "Oh, yeah, well, I'll pay you $10,000 to come to Chicago." And you're like, fine.
It's just a weekend.
But like, it's so hard to do that whenever you're in such a big touring schedule. But whenever it was forced on me, I at first was freaking out, of course, and then went, "Well, the kids are all home from school. Let's just make the best of it." Yeah. So I got to know my kids really well. We had a routine for the first time ever. We didn't have any after school or after evening activities, so I could go. I had supper made every night. Like, I got to do landscaping. This year, even into the spring, I was able to coach their softball team.
Wow.
And like, I doubt I'll ever be able to do that again. Yeah. I won't have that much time.
Yeah.
Next spring, because that's when it gets busy.
Yeah.
So I really just went, okay, this is the situation that we're in. Luckily, my husband's in construction. He got to keep working. So, we were, and we have a little bit of land. So the kids were able to just, it was like 1985 at our house.
Outside,
they were outside. Play. We had a water trough, swimming pool. Like,
the best.
They are going to remember this year as like the best year ever.
Yeah.
And that was what I was trying to do. Like, we're not going to watch the news. we're in a tiny town. You can't go to school because of this, this, and this. It's very serious, but we're fine. And we're going to not see Granny for a little bit.
Yeah.
But then we'll be able to later. And here's the situation, and here's how we're going to handle it, you know? And it was great.
And all they heard was, we're not going to go to school.
And all they heard was, go outside and go swimming,
Yeah.
you know?
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't take it that
A lot
way,
of people did not. And that's why I had kind of like a survivor's guilt about it.
Yeah. Well, you
Like
shouldn't.
all of these people are having such a hard time. And I was actually, I mean, of course, like I missed gigging and I missed performing. I started doing those online shows, and those, I loved those. And
The
they helped
trailer
me.
sessions,
Yeah, the
right?
trailer
Yeah.
sessions. And I missed my friends and all of that stuff. And I went up and down. And, you know, I think that all of us go up and down in mental states naturally anyway. As creatives, you know, we're always doing that. But overall, as I look back on the whole time, it's overall positive for our family, which was a blessing for us.
Yeah. Well, as long as it was positive for you,
Yeah.
that's all that matters.
Right. I had to go, it's okay. It's okay to feel like I needed that breath, you know?
I know you have to get to sound check. I only have a couple more questions.
Okay.
This podcast is called Is Breakfast Included?
Mm-hmm.
So if it was included, what would you have?
If it was included, I would have, okay, so there's this breakfast taco that's at Dairy Queen in Hondo. By the way, if anybody goes through Hondo, Texas around breakfast time, the secret is Dairy Queen. It's the best tacos in town because the ladies that run it just like make the best tacos in the morning. But there's a breakfast taco called the Kitchen Sink, and it has everything in it. Everything that you can possibly put there, they combine it all and throw it into one.
Remember that.
Yeah, you should. It's really good. It's my favorite breakfast.
So you're going to make me come there to take you to breakfast?
Yes.
Okay. The next time.
And we can just drive through, and it's great.
Right on.
Yeah.
What do you have coming up? What do you have planned for the rest of 2021 and 2022?
Well, I'm on the road off and on with Todd. This was the first couple stops on this Todd Snyder tour, and they've been great. And I've got some Northeast shows with him, some Midwest shows with him, all the way through the end of the year, and then sprinkling some festivals. And I have blocked off 2 weeks out of every month to not do anything. So, so I've learned that. I did finally, after the forced break, I went, okay, this is how we're going to do this. I'm going to block 2 weeks, half the month. So, I'm going to be able to go to the beach with my kids and take them to Fiesta, Texas whenever I want to. And it's going to be great.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
One more thing. I didn't ask you this when we were talking about the music. Teetotal Tommy. Did that arrangement, what was laid down? Is that what you had in your head? It was one of the coolest arrangements I've
Isn't
ever
it
heard.
cool? Well,
the way the drums
the secret there is Scott Davis, who produced Jumping Over Rocks, and he produced that track. He's amazing at being able to communicate what is in my head to the band. Like, I can say, hey, make the drums be more like, you know, like this. And he's like, okay, hey, Richie, do this move. And then like he does it, you know, like I can kind of, and he automatically knows what I love. So that's why we get those players. We know who can do that, you know, make it real groovy and again, big and small, and like do that arrangement. We get those players for. Yeah,
it's really cool. For the millions of people listening.
Yeah.
Check that song out.
Yeah, it's a Mickey Newberry song. Yeah. So there's he recorded it on a record called Looks Like Rain in the 60s, and I just love it so much. And I went into the studio just wanting to cut something, and I was like, this is what we're cutting today. Yeah. And we came up with that, and collectively I just love that arrangement so much.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. I really love it. That's Richie Millsap from the band of Heathens. on the
Okay.
drums, and Scott Davis is playing bass, and then Jeff Queen on the steel,
Yeah.
and Trevor Nealon from the band of Heathens on the keys.
Well, like the kids are saying, I don't even know if they're saying this anymore. It pops.
It pops. It
Pops.
slaps.
It slaps. It's lit.
Yeah, whatever it is right now.
Where can people find you on social media?
Well, Jamie Lin Wilson with an I, Jamie, and then Lin Wilson, on all of the things. That's what it is on the Instagram and the Twitter and the Facebook and everything. And we're pretty active on there, so we have a lot of fun. Like,
Right on.
I like sharing pictures. Instagram's my favorite. I like
Yeah.
pictures.
Yeah, your social media is pretty active.
Yeah.
I'm constantly getting the notifications.
Well, thanks for having those on.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks.
Well, thank you
I know
for coming and talking to me.
Yeah, for sure, man. I know the schedule was tight, but
Yeah,
we made it work.
we made it
right?
work,
We're gonna
and-
fist bump now.
Yeah, cool.
Anyway, hope to see you soon.
Yeah, and I'm going to look forward to listening to all your other episodes.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We had a little problem this week. Something's going on with Apple. And
Really?
this week's episode didn't quite upload on everyone. So we're
Ugh.
still working on it, but it'll be fixed by the time yours drops.
All right. Cool.
All right, bye.
Thanks.
Right on. That was Jamie Lin Wilson. That one was a lot of fun. You can find her at jamielinwilson.com. She has merch, music, tour dates on all social media platforms. Jamie Lin Wilson. That's Instagram, Facebook, the Twitters, TikTok, I think, and YouTube. She has this great trailer sessions that she does. Check those out too. You won't be disappointed. All right, guys, I'm done. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you next week.